Jesse,
Gary.
we are here for episode 2. It is Die Hard Dialogue, everybody. I am very excited. I'm Gary Vaynerchuk here with my partner in crime. Please take it away. Say hello.
Gary, like you said, we are back for episode 2 of Die Hard Dialogue with Gary V, you, the man, the myth, the legend. As a reminder to all of our listeners, we have a Listener League DFS contest as part of this show. So it's an exclusive contest. This week, you can play for $1,000 in prizes, plus a shot to take home a Randy Moss rookie card from Gary's personal collection. So check the link on the DraftKings Twitter and Gary's Twitter for more details on that. Last week in our Listener League, after episode 1, Gary, we had over 10K entries. All right, that's a lot. Our winner was Lord of the Dogs.
I knew Lord of the Dogs was going to win.
Yeah, he did. He got the W. And he got the Sam Darnold rookie cards. Collection of a trio.
Yep.
Another cool thing coming from this show, talked about it last time, we're putting up an exclusive boost, an exclusive bet for those of you in sportsbook states. So check the promos page in the app for that boost. So the number doesn't change. We just give you better odds on something that comes from this show. And Gary's undefeated so far with the boost because he chose to boost Sam Darnold last week with his passing yards, and Darnold crushed it and went over. So hopefully
he was almost over, or was over at halftime.
Yeah, it was bananas.
That's because I know my Jets. And again, I picked the Panthers last week and I was right about that as well. And a lot of people did extremely well. I got a ton of DMs and messages. The Discord lit me up. Thank you everybody for thanking me for helping you make money, which is usually makes people happy, Jess.
It does. And Tia Corinne, who was on here last week, was right. The Panthers did cover and win by more than 4. So possibly on their way to that 17-0.
But she will be wrong on her 17-0. On the record, everybody who's listening, if you watch last week's game, the Panthers are not a good football team. Let's just establish that right now. They should be ashamed of themselves in the way that game was played out. The Jets had multiple injuries. They lost their punter on the opening drive for the whole game, which is ludicrous. They had a rookie, it's insane that was 19-14 home opener. Like they were up 16-0 at the half. If you're a Panthers fan, you should feel atrocious.
Yeah, absolutely. Then we also had Asher Roth. We had Gina the Ghost on. They talked about that 49ers Lions game. Asher hit on almost all his predictions. It was
so did Gina. They crushed. I mean, if you actually bet heavy last week against everything that was said, you really won money and had fun. And I think we should continue that trend today. But the big problem for me is that Tia was a very personal selection. I just wanted to put her on the show. This week, we actually have a diehard, and my opponents each week will actually be diehards. I've heard incredible hype on this gentleman for his Patriot knowledge. This is not only, a Jets opponent. This is the Jets opponent. Right? This is not only the Jets opponent. We both find ourselves with rookie starting quarterbacks. A new era has begun in New England after a 2-decade dominance of having the best quarterback in the league. They've reset it. And unfortunately for me and my fellow Jet fans, there is some heavy concern in Jets land that they might have made a good selection. The kids looked good. He looked good last week, in my opinion. And I'm a little bit concerned about this week and his knowledge. We're about to find out, but why don't we introduce him, Jess? Why don't you intro him and let him introduce himself, and then we'll just get into the dialogue.
Yeah, Jared Haben of Bachelorette fame is here with us. Gary, you'll be happy to know, like you said, he's a diehard New England fan. He's a native New Englander, so big.
I am born and raised Rhode Island, baby. I'm just pulling out. So first of all, thank you so much for having me on the podcast. I really appreciate it. And Gary, I mean, we're not really rivals right now because a rivalry is like when two teams go back and forth. Unfortunately, we haven't really gone back and forth since like 2010.
That's right.
The divisional round. But I also want to prove.
What I want to remind you, young Jared, we came into Foxborough and beat you in the playoffs.
Oh, I remember it vividly. I remember LaDainian Tomlinson running on the left side of the corner, diving in the end zone. And I was like, you got to be freaking kidding me. Anyway, because I remember Brady, I think it was on the first or second drive, Brady hadn't thrown an interception in like 320 attempts.
It was the first drive. He threw a pick to David Harris, who would have ran it back for a touchdown, but Algie Crumpler ran him down.
Up to him.
The Jets then missed a chip field goal.
Yes.
I decided at that moment we were going to lose that game.
Same here. I thought it was over after that.
Me too.
all of a sudden just we couldn't score anything.
It was Jericho Cotchery, who's a Patriot killer, and Braylon Edwards had a touchdown. Santonio Holmes made a crazy catch in the corner.
Yep, I remember Santonio Holmes. I remember that was Gronk and Hernandez rookie year, and like that was our offense because that was the year we traded Moss in like week 4. And so everything was over the middle, tight end central. And then you guys were like, okay, we're just.
And by the way, as you remember, probably only 8 or 10 weeks earlier, you beat us 45-3 or something like that on Monday Night Football.
Right. That was one of the greatest nights of my life. It was Monday Night
one of the worst of mine.
You guys.
Okay, you too. It's like we could talk forever. The history of the Pats and the Jets.
Jess, I don't know if you know this, but this is not called Die Hard Dialogue with Jesse. It's Die Hard Dialogue with Gary. Gary is nerding out football talk. I appreciate.
Jesse's right though. No one cares about.
No, everybody cares. This is a Die Hard show.
Fair point.
It is a Die Hard show, but I'm also here to keep you two on the rails, right? So I gotta interject.
Just had very bad news for the next 15 weeks, 16 weeks. The rails are something I don't give a shit about. I don't care about the rails. All right, Jared. So you're a diehard. I respect that. What did you think last week? What was your week 1 up? The show gets interesting now. Now we have data. I have some data. You have some data. Why don't you give? And Jess, you're a bandwagon Patriots fan, so you're more than welcome to throw in some of your thoughts on the game. I assume you watch, but I also think maybe you work on Sundays because of the company. I don't know what you do on Sundays. I don't know if you got to watch or watch on Monday. But what is our hot takes of what we saw?
Jesse,
okay, well, Jared, I'm going to let you go first.
Jared, you're the main. You're the main. Yeah.
I don't know if I'm the main one, but I appreciate the sentiment. Listen, I actually am one of those rare Patriot fans that I'm just kind of annoyed about everything right now because I am a huge Brady Bobo fan. So seeing Brady, of course, win his 7th Super Bowl, and then on Thursday night with 1:24 left, of course, he has a game-winning drive, and they kick the field goal, and it was like shocking. And then come Sunday, in my head, I'm like, all right, you know, it's a big week for Bill. I know it's only week 1. It's certainly not a must win, but like Bill Belichick needs to answer a little bit. They go 7-9 last year. Brady wins the Super Bowl. Whether people want to talk about it or not, like that's still a storyline, Brady versus Belichick. And if Belichick doesn't want to be remembered as the coach that only won with Tom Brady, then he needs to start winning with Mac Jones. He needs to start winning pretty quickly. And so Mac looked great. That's awesome. I'm happy about that. I think we found a quarterback that can play in the NFL. He made some really good anticipating throws. But the fact is, they still lost 7.
Fact is that Bill Belichick has been the head coach of a football team for 4 seasons where Tom Brady did not play in that season, and he's made the playoffs only once, and he stinks. He's about to become the greatest fraud in football history, and I agree with Jared. No, Jared, it's an interesting point.
Right, Jared, that's what you were saying.
I don't think no. Bill Belichick's not a fraud. I think that Bill Belichick is the greatest.
No, Jared's and you're ready to change your mind because you're a fair fan. Listen, on my own show in week 1, Jess, you were impressed. I picked against it. Listen, this is a very important argument. Bill Belichick, more than anybody I know in earth in sports land, has the biggest thing brewing that no one's talking about, which is the following. If that man does not get serious fast in the next, I'll call it 5 years. I don't feel like it has to be this year or next year, but do not let Tom Brady get to another Super Bowl, win another Super Bowl in parallel to Belichick not doing any of such things in the next 5 years. Let there be no confusion. In 5 years, if Brady has one more Super Bowl appearance or win, and Belichick has no Super Bowl appearances and maybe let's say one playoff random win in 5 years post Brady, there is only one narrative: that the most overrated coach in the history of sports was the Belichick of the last 15 years, because we correctly gave him a lot of credit because he was a great defensive coordinator, but so was a lot of other people that couldn't coach. And then it became a singular conversation that Tom Brady's the greatest of all time and carried Bill Belichick on his fucking back.
I agree with you on that, but that makes me sad because I also don't think that's a correct narrative. It will be the narrative.
I get it.
I think Bill Belichick is the greatest coach in the NFL. Now, granted, you know, maybe coaching is a little overrated because as we saw, like Tom Brady went down to Tampa with Bruce Arians, who I'm sorry, I don't think is a very good coach.
He's a great coach. He's a Super Bowl champion coach. He's a Super Bowl champion. Let me tell you something right now. Bill Belichick better be really careful.
I agree. Like, look at what happened with Andy Reid. Andy Reid was always known as a very good coach, but he could never win the big one, you know, and he had good quarterbacks with Don McNabb and Alex Smith. All of a sudden he gets Patrick Mahomes and he goes 2 straight Super Bowls and 3 straight AFC championship games. And all of a sudden Andy Reid looks like Bill Belichick. So like, you're right. Belichick needs to get serious fast or else he's going to have this narrative that Yeah, he's a great coach, but what the hell did he do without Brady? Sorry.
Okay, so
It's all right. Don't worry about that call.
the question is, does Belichick have the quarterback of the future for the Patriots with Mac Jones? His passing yards prop for this game against the Jets is set at 244.5. It's moved up from 241.5 just today. So 244.5 for Mac Jones against the Jets. What do we think?
Over. The Jets are a disaster in their secondary. And they lost Joyner. The Jets have lost every single person they signed in free agency for the season. They've got 9 total snaps out of Lawson, out of Joyner, out of all these guys, out of Curry, the Eagles DM. The Jets are decimated. I don't understand if anybody understands. We're the youngest team. We're starting 100 rookies, and everyone is getting hurt. What if the Patriots lose to the Jets this year? I'm already willing to make a piece of content that Bill Belichick is the worst coach of all time.
Listen, I think this is going to be a sneaky tough game for the Patriots. I'm going to take that prop bet with Mac over because I think they actually, even though Mac threw the ball he dropped back 40 times last game, I think they actually held Mac back a little bit because they wanted to really establish the run. It was his first game. I felt like they could have thrown the ball 45 or 50 times and Mac would have been able to handle it. So I fully expect the Patriots to come out, let Mac Jones throw the ball around the field. I fully expect him to have over 200. What was it, 244 you said?
Yeah, it was, 244.5.
244.5. I fully expect him to have at least 270 yards.
He threw for 281 yards and a touchdown
against a much stronger defense.
Yes, yeah. I agree. I think he's going to go in. I think the Patriots are.
Jared, did the Dolphins get a pass rush?
Yeah. So that's what scares me because Trent Brown, the offensive right tackle that we re-signed this year, is hurt with a calf, and we don't know if he's going to miss the game or not. He's day-to-day. So that's a huge, because the Dolphins got a lot of pressure last week, and that's scary because, Mac Jones looked good, but he's still a rookie quarterback. That's
right. And the Jets' strength is their defensive line.
And what scares me is that Mac Jones' average yard in the air, like per throw, was I think about 6 yards. So everything was a check down. They never.
By the way, that's going to really work. The Jets are decimated at linebacker and in the secondary. Yeah, and a lot of that swing shit's going to work.
Totally. It's going to be a huge game for James White. If they're JJ Taylor, who's our other pass catching running back, was inactive last week. He's probably going to be active this week after Damian Harris and Stevenson both fumbled the ball. So you're going to have two guys that are very James White, third down pass catching backs.
Yeah, James White might have 10 catches. Not kidding.
You're going to have 100.
Is there a James White receiving prop?
Let me check the sports book.
Okay, Jared, what about defensively? Educate me. How did you guys? I'm not the biggest Tua guy, and I don't think the Dolphins really open it up. What did you see from the defense last week, which has historically been a strength that a lot of people came back? So what did we see?
It's fine. I think the defense.
It wasn't remarkable.
I don't think it's remarkable. I think it's wildly overrated. The defense is supposed to be the strength of the team. Stephon Gilmore obviously is on the PUP list. He's mixed in the first 6 weeks, and his absence is very noticeable because all of a sudden J.C. Jackson now has to be his number one. So the secondary's banged up. We don't cover all that well. The pass rush there was no pass rush on Tua last week.
Well, good news. Good news. Every single play that Zach Wilson went back for, there was pass rush.
Oh, that's amazing.
The Jets' offensive line was atrocious.
So what I think is Matthew Judon, who's our big defensive free agent signing this year, he had some pressure last week. I think he'll, make an impact in this game. So, I mean, Hightower is great. I love Hightower. He took a year off.
Takes time.
He's in the back nine. So it's like it's going to take him time to acclimate. Van Noy looked okay. I think Van Noy will get better and better as the season goes on. So I fully expect the defense to have.
What was the turnover ratio last week?
We lost it. So we had 2 turnovers. Dolphins had 1. Two or three.
Unusual for your team. Yeah.
By the way, guys, nothing on White on the sports book right now.
No worries.
Interesting.
So what do you think is going to happen, Jared?
I think ultimately the Patriots will win. I don't think they're going to go 0-2. I think the Jets are still the Jets, but it scares me because, there's this narrative that Bill Belichick is incredible against rookie quarterbacks and he just dominates them. I heard a stat, his last 12 road games against rookie quarterbacks, he's 6-6. So it's like, he doesn't just dominate. Maybe he dominates them at home. I don't know the stats on that, but it scares me. New quarterback, new coach.
On the record, Bill Belichick doesn't dominate shit. Tom Brady and Bill Belichick do. So let's start really looking at. Listen, if your secondary is as meh as you said, let me say the alternative. Jess, I don't know if you got to see any of this. This is again, Jesse, you need to keep me honest here. You saw my demeanor and talk last week.
I did.
You listening to how I'm talking right now. Zach, I very quickly understood why Romo and others are losing their mind for Zach Wilson. Jared, what you're going to need to be looking out for you not to have a headache for a decade or two. I was dumbfounded by how well Zach played. Elijah Moore let me down heavy. First drive, dropped a 60-yard bomb in his breadbasket on a scramble. What you're definitely going to see, Jared, listen, other people have had great arms and have been bad quarterbacks, but you're not going to see too many people in the NFL who zip it more effortlessly than Zach Wilson. You're going to see that immediately. It's kind of scary what he's doing. Like the way I thought he played really well for a kid who got sacked 6 times and had pressure everywhere. Now, where he get caught, and Van Noy scares me here a little bit. He's so shifty and athletic in the pocket. I can already see Van Noy, because he's good like that, getting the strip, fumble, that kind of stuff. But I thought Zach was very impressive. We get Crowder back this week, which is a safety valve for him in the receiving end. We may get Cole back, who was a big free agent signing.
You guys have good weapons. You guys have good wide receivers. You got Mims.
Mims is in the doghouse. Might not even be on a team in a couple weeks. We have Corey Davis, Crowder, and Elijah Moore looked great and then did not play well, but it's his first game. Our running back situation is not great. Our offensive line was in shambles. Our quarterback made me feel weird. And what I mean by that was he is normally the issue. This last week, he was the strength. And, listen, it's a home opener. We haven't been home in 2 years. Fans haven't been there. As all the home openers matter. They always have a little something. And I got to tell you, as confident as I was that they were going to lose last week, listening to Jared a little bit now, is it a 5-point spread? Where are we, Jess?
5.5. Patriots are favored by 5.5 on the road, minus 250 on the money line.
As a Patriots fan, I love the Pats. I love Mac Jones. I would easily take the Jets in the points than that, because I don't think it's too early.
Listen, the Patriots could win. Yeah, Patriots could win, to your point, 27-7. They could also lose 17-4. It's a second NFL game. You don't know yet.
No, nobody knows. I mean, I think
I don't think the Dolphins are that good.
No, I don't think they're that good. I mean, I don't think
to lose a home opener to a division rival, that's not Belichick-like. Excuse me, maybe it is without Tom Brady.
Well, okay. So prediction time, fellas. Give me your favorite bet and score here. So Jared, what's the score looking like?
I think the Patriots are going to put more points on the board, because I think the Jets are decimated, and I think they're going to let Matt Jones throw the ball all around the field, and I think he's ready to do that. But unfortunately, I do think that the Patriots team overall, specifically the defense, is a little overrated. I think the Jets have pretty good weapons offensively. I think Zach Wilson's going to make some big mistakes. I could easily see him throwing 2 picks, having a fumble, but I could also see Zach Wilson making some plays and have 3 touchdowns. So I think at the end of the day, it's going to be a higher score than people think. I think it's going to be 28. I'm going to go 28-24 Pats.
Okay. So we think that Pats don't cover that spread, but you think that it's going to be going over the total. 42.5 was the total.
I think it's definitely going to go over the total. I mean, that 16 points was an aberration for me. I got to be honest. I fully expect the Patriots to put more points on the board. I mean, they didn't let Mac Jones throw all over the field. And, they had 4 fumbles, 2 turnovers. Damian Harris fumbles at the 15-yard line with the game on the line. So I fully expect the Patriots and Bill Belichick, hopefully, to rebound this week and play better. But I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I would take the points.
But you think maybe a little bit of a shootout. So do we like over 4.5 total touchdowns for both teams? Do you like that bet?
4.5.
Well, you just said yes.
Yeah. See,
Mac
was never my.
Sounds like a lot.
You got 4. You got 4 just for Mac.
I do that math quickly. I was like 2, 4, carry the 9.
Lock it in, baby.
I think this is a wild game. Again, just like last week, too early for me. People are listening. After last week, they may actually bet this week even heavier. So I'm going to go with over on Mac as the prop. And I want that to be the thing that we juice.
Okay. All right.
I may change my mind after we listen to the next game, but that's where I sit right now. I think I really don't like the Patriots situation all that much. And I always like the Patriots situation. I always pick them to win the Super Bowl. A lot, I don't talk about sports that much. So like in my inner circle, they all know this. I'm a little worried. Like, I think that's a really bad loss. Like, take everything out of the equation. Losing your home opener to a division rival is a losing team's starting point. Mm-hmm. Like, I just don't think people understand that is a shockingly bad loss. Now, and I think Gilmore, much like Revis for the Jets during those great era that we talked about, I don't think people understand what a shutdown corner actually does for football. Oh. It completely changes the dynamic.
Takes half the field off.
100%. I think that the Jets are a young, inexperienced, but the quarterback scares me in a good way. He blew my face off last week, and I think that plays out this week. I'm going 22-22 tie.
Oh, man. 22-22 tie. All right. All right. So that's Jets, Patriots. Jared, you are an expert. Thank you.
Oh, my God. Thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun.
Brother. Talk to you soon, brother.
Bye, guys.
Bye. See you later. Okay. So now we're going to welcome in two other guys. We're going to talk about this Falcons Bucks game. Okay. So now we're joined by Cameron Lynch and Supreme Patty. We're talking Falcons Bucks. Patty is here for the Falcons. Cameron Lynch, former Bucks linebacker, obviously here for the Bucks, right? Of course.
Go Bucks.
Yeah.
Hit it.
And Patty, why are you a Falcons fan? Are you from?
No, I'm actually from Florida, but it's like a family thing. I was living with my dad at the time, and my uncle was a big Falcons fan back when I was like 10 or 11. That's kind of when I first started watching football. So it kind of just carried along,
And Patty, what player first caught your attention?
Matt Ryan. It was like his first season.
Matty Ice.
You are so young.
And Cam, yes, Jess, there are young characters.
First season.
Yes,
I'm like doing the math, like.
And Cam, what about you as a fan prior to having an incredibly impressive career? As a kid, where did you grow up and who did you like?
Yeah, grew up in California, but then moved to Atlanta, right? So I grew up watching Mike Vick, right? I have a Mike Vick jersey and everything like that. But grew up a Ray Lewis fan, right? Playing linebacker, you want to emulate a guy like Ray Lewis. So definitely a Ray Lewis fan there. But
were you a Falcons fan that loved Ray Lewis, or were you a Ravens fan?
No, not at all. Not a Falcons fan at all, right? Like I said, grew up in California, so basketball guy, definitely loved the Kobe. And when it came to football, for real,
it was players more than teams.
I was more a player guy, right? And I knew that growing up, I wanted to play in the NFL. So any team that would hire me would be the team that I liked.
It's funny. I've always wondered when somebody was a diehard. Like, I always wonder. I was insane. It was my whole life, the Jets. If I was as talented as you and became an NFL player and I was drafted by the Dolphins, like, I always wondered, like, what that feeling would be like if you were actually a diehard like me, like genuinely obsessed with your football team, and now you're a rival. So I was going for that a little bit with the Falcons thing, but I see it didn't play out. So let's go into this game. Jesse, set us up with some data.
Falcons at Bucks, guys. Bucks are 12.5-point favorites. A whopping minus 675 on the money line. The total is set at 51.5. It's minus 115 to go over.
So Patty, what do you think? When you hear that, what does that make you feel?
I mean, Atlanta looked like trash week one, but I think they're. I mean, I love Matt Ryan. I mean, we lost Julio, but we still got Calvin. Hopefully, Kyle plays a little bit better.
What do we see from Kyle Pitts in week one?
I think he had like 2 catches.
A little disappointing. All those Falcon fans feel like they had Gonzalez meets Roma, meets Gronk. And I was expecting like 18 catches for 295 the way Falcon fans were talking about Kyle.
Yeah, we couldn't move the ball at all.
And we have a receiving yards prop for him this week. Kyle Pitts receiving yards 39.5.
I would take the over on that. I think the offense will look a little bit better this game. I think it'll be closer than people expect.
Now remind me, it seemed like on the highlights that I saw for 2 seconds, were the Falcons home against the Eagles?
I honestly don't.
Yeah.
Well, I was paying attention to res.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, to lose like that to the Eagles, I don't know. Tampa, on the other hand, on Thursday night, looked all the part.
All the part.
That's what happens when you return 22
All
of
of
your
them.
starters from your title run.
Just like the beginning of the show, that's what happens when you have Tom Brady. I mean, we're starting to see the massive separation of Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. I mean, how much more data are we going to let this keep going before we decide that collectively, all of us together here and the world decides that Bill Belichick is the most overrated human that ever walked Earth?
Yeah, I would agree on that one.
I wouldn't go too far to say that, right? Because I do have colleagues who play for him, but you know,
But he
Gary,
better start doing. But he better start doing something, my man.
Dang right. And you know, to be honest, I wasn't a Tom Brady fan growing up, right? I didn't like him because I played against him.
Of
But
course.
now that he's at the home team, the Bucks, like I love the man. It's like the LeBron. It's like a LeBron James
By the
thing,
way,
right?
there's nobody I've liked least ever in football, and if he's a Jet next year, he's my favorite player. Once somebody puts on my logo, you're my guy.
You're that guy. It's like a LeBron James thing. Like I
Yes.
said, I was a Kobe guy growing up with the Lakers, and LeBron's there.
Yeah,
Look,
you hated him.
You gotta
Now,
love and respect the man.
That's
So
it. I love that. What did you see, Cam? Like, obviously, you have a professional eye. We'll go back to Patty a little bit more to go deeper on what he saw with the Falcons. But what did you see on Thursday night?
yeah, I mean, like you said, the Bucks, they were lights out. On the defensive side, you know, being a defensive guy, I know Todd Bowles, he scratches his head there. He's like, ooh, that's not the performance that I want. So I'm gonna have to agree with Patty in saying that this game can be a little bit tighter, right? Todd Bowles is going to be lights out, I think, with his calls, and it's a divisional game. And to be honest, I never liked the Falcons playing with the Buccaneers, so I do think it's going to be a close game there. And the run game on both sides is going to have to be established. I think that's going to be the first thing for the Falcons. They're going to establish the run game and to get into the passing as well. And I do think it's going to be a second half game for the Buccaneers. I think that's really going to break things open. The Eagles last game, not much on the scoreboard. Last game, it was like 7-3, I think it was at half. And I do think the second half, Tom Brady's going to find that end zone and might blow the Falcons out of the water. So we'll see.
And this is a big spread between these teams, but guys, the underdog has covered in each of the Bucks' last 5 games for the record.
Interesting.
What was the total points on this game?
The point total for this one is sitting at 51.5.
And this game is being played in Tampa?
In Tampa.
Yeah, Falcons at Bucks.
I mean, that's
I think-
a lot of points.
The over.
We like the over. All right.
Me personally.
Each of the
Let's
last
go.
6
Yeah, go ahead.
games between Tampa and Atlanta have gone over.
What was the score of the Eagles game?
Let's not even talk about it.
Like 30-something to 6 or something crazy like that.
It was
so
bad.
very
Couldn't move
sad.
the ball at all. I definitely agree. The running game needs Mike Davis ball moving.
Yeah, it was 32-6.
32-6. Yeah, Jalen looks great.
Jesse, what do you
I don't
think?
know.
Yeah, well,
And
What
Jesse,
I
real quick, because
yeah.
I like random flow. What do you
Okay.
think about the Jets game? We didn't get to you. What did you think about the Jets-Patriots game this week? What's your official prediction?
I think that the Jets are going to upset the Pats.
You do, huh?
Yeah, I don't have a lot of faith right now in the Patriots. Mac Jones looks great, right? But it's obviously not enough. And Zach Wilson also looks like a rocket out there.
What do you think, Gary?
You know, I just talked about it. I called it 22.
Gary's going for a
22
tie.
I called it 22-22 tie. The Jets are super young and very banged up. But this goes back. I'm in a very weird mood, Cam. I can't believe how well Zach played given the circumstances. Like, we haven't had that guy. I love Mark Sanchez as a human being first and foremost, but I was never over the top. I always thought he had a lot of things around him, right? And I was not a Geno guy. And I was incredibly optimistic about Sam coming to the draft. And I got high towards the end of his rookie year because he really went off for 3 or 4 games there. But you never really, you never could get going. He had mono his second year, and it's just been a disaster. So it was just weird, really, and this is scary to say. The only other time I felt like this after a Jets quarterback's first game was ironically against the Atlanta Falcons in what I believe is 1992 opener, when the Jets had Broadway Browning Nagel out of Louisville as a quarterback in his second year, and he lit up the Falcons, and that ended up being his best performance ever as an NFL quarterback, his first one. So I hope it doesn't turn out to be that sitch, but I think it's gonna be a fairly close game. Now, as far as your game, I got to see more of the Bucks than the Falcons. But to lose that badly I have a good sense of the Eagles because Joe Douglas comes from their local. I like Jalen a lot. I love their GM Howie. I just had a better sense of them. If they were able to go into week 1 on the road in Atlanta and win at that level, I do now understand the 12.5 a little bit more as a home game for Tampa. To Patty's point, I'm just going to chalk. I mean, you're right. You have Ridley, you have Pitts, you have Matty Ice as a bet. There should be more there going on.
Speaking of Matty Ice, passing yards prop for him, 281.5 for his passing yards total. Do we think he goes over or under that?
I would probably take the over.
Okay.
And I think, like I said, Todd Bowles is going to tighten up this game, y'all.
Yeah,
I don't think so. I think Todd Bowles is going to tighten up this game. And to say this as well, Gary, you mentioned the receiving options that the Falcons have. The Bucs didn't do too well against the Cowboys, and they had 3 great receiving options. The Falcons don't have that. So I think I don't think the passing is going to be too well for the Falcons.
I agree with you. Who's the number 2 option in Atlanta now?
I mean, Pitts. I mean, other than that, it's Russell Gage.
And you got the tight end. You got the tight end there with Hooper.
And the tight end Pitt situation is a little tough because you got real linebackers in Tampa. And I agree. And I agree with you, Cam. I thought it was great to see, QB1 in Dallas come back and look the part. And they're loaded with CeeDee Lamb in year 2. And I actually think this is a buzzsaw game. I actually, putting it all together right now, I think it's going to be Tampa. I think Tampa's going to win 34-16.
Ooh. Patty, how do we feel about that?
Sorry, Patty.
I've been saying it for the last couple of years. The Falcons are the best worst team. Even when we had Julio, one game we'll come out and put 40 points. The next game we put 7. Every other week, it's hard to even say what they're gonna do each week, especially
we need full predictions, team. What do we got, Patty? I need a full score.
Yeah, what do we think the score is gonna be? Do we think they're gonna cover?
Atlanta I think the Bucs will win 35-24.
Okay, so they'll cover.
Yeah, okay. I like that that ballpark. I'm gonna go 34-21.
So you got them covering. So you got them slightly covering. Patty's got them slightly, has Atlanta winning that point spread. Interesting, but same general ballpark. Jess, what about you?
Same ballpark.
Yeah, I mean, I actually like Cameron's 34-21 call. I think it's going to be, we're going to see more from this Bucs team. I mean, they're firing on all cylinders, and we know the history between these two teams. Although I will say, I did give the stat here that each of the underdog has covered in each of the Bucs' last 5 games. So none of us are taking that into consideration.
No, because I think those stats have historically been a little bit misguided. I really do. Every team, every year, you got to contextualize it. I get it. Yeah. And I do think rivalries matter. And I think it's hard with interdivisional games with that big of a spread to go in that direction. It just feels like these are 2 organizations going in opposite directions, which makes me sad because I like
the coaches aren't there anymore either.
Yeah.
The coaches aren't there anymore historically.
Right.
So it's a different team.
That hurts me because the delta in which I like the city of Atlanta versus the city of Tampa Bay is substantial.
Guys, I will say Brady's passing touchdown prop is 2.5.
I love that over.
We're going over all day.
Yeah, because if you told me that Tampa wins 51-16, I wouldn't be surprised. So I really like the over on 2.5. 2.5 surprised me. That's low.
Yeah, I mean,
that seems good.
And I think they'll find Mike Evans a lot more. Chris Godwin. I mean, these guys will get. Mike Evans was quiet last game. I think he'll have more activity this game. And against the Falcons, I remember playing against the Falcons, and Mike Evans had that big shot in the head against one of the Falcons DBs.
Yes.
And so Mike Evans, I think, has a vendetta against, of course, the NFC South team. So count Brady up, count those passing touchdowns going up as well.
Yeah, Evans' prop is 56.5 yards. So do we like him to go over that?
Up.
Okay. All right.
Over.
Boys,
thank you so much.
Hey, thank you for having me, Gary.
Love to have you back.
All right, guys. Peace out.
Thanks, guys.
Give me some more props on the We don't have Jets props, right?
No, we don't have Jets
Still,
props.
no late breaking Jets props still,
No, sorry,
for
man.
sure,
Yep.
100%.
Yeah,
Super sad.
I know.
But what about Pat's props? Give me some more Pat's props.
Yeah, we got Pat's props on here. Let me just scroll to that game from all of my notes.
Can you like hit up the DraftKings executives and be like, yo, we got this podcast now and we need these props from the Jets?
I mean,
Do you have that kind of power?
I definitely don't.
Got it.
And I won't pretend that I do. I won't pretend that I do. Okay, so we have a Davian Harris rushing yards prop, 72.5. Do you like the over on that?
I don't have an opinion. Keep going.
Okay, Jacoby Myers receiving yards, 55.5.
Do you have a sense of what he did last week?
I can find out.
Okay, keep going.
Nelson Aguilar receiving yards, 48.5.
Yeah, I think the Jets secondary scares me. Keep going.
Let's see. Gotta just pull up our sports book. Hold on.
No worries. For everybody listening while just filling up the sports book, I think this is such a fun week in the NFL. This is when you get that double context. I feel like we will continue to get stronger. For everybody who won, I'm so happy. Please hit us up on Twitter. Use the hashtag #DieHardDialogue to give us your feedback. Thank you, everybody who joined the league. Over 10,000 entries or 10,000 entries, because I think caps it. We might uncap it this week. I'm excited about to see what that does. So we want all of you to find that league. I'll be sharing the links in social on my Discord, my VFriends Discord. Jesse, you got any more data?
Yeah, we have a Hunter Henry prop. Do we like Hunter Henry? 27.5.
Personally, I don't like him at all. But I do like Hunter Henry because I do think Belichick, even though I think he's grossly overrated, is smart. I do think the middle of the Jets with their safety situation, I could see Hunter getting involved this week for sure.
We have a Kendrick Bourne.
I don't want to do this anymore. I hate all these guys. Like,
Okay,
hate.
you don't even want to talk about them. Let's talk about some of the bets that the guys came up with during the podcast. So Jared liked over 4.5 total touchdowns in the Jets Pats game. You liked the Mac Jones passing yards.
I like under 4. Well, I like over. I guess. Yeah, I like. To me, this is the. I've listened to everything. Mac Jones. Let's boost it. 250 or 244, 4.5.
It's 244.5. So that's what we want to boost.
Yes, that's what we're boosting this week.
I like it. You like your quarterback props.
I just know the Jets secondary.
Yeah. All right. Book it. Lock it in. We're going to boost it.
I appreciate you this week.
I appreciate you too, Gary. You're the best.
Now I don't like you anymore from this second on though. That's it. We're rivals now until Monday. We have to hate each other. Big game.
I know.
Huge.
It's okay. Fair enough.
Why'd you try to put me back on the rails?
Because it's my job. That's what they pay me to do, Gary.
All right, but let's make a side deal, you and I, where you're like a reverse spy and you pretend you're doing what they ask you to do, but we actually have our own little shit and we focus on how we want to do it.
All right, fair enough.
Double agent. Awesome. We'll see you guys next week. We'll see you next week. Thanks for listening to Die Hard Dialogue. And we'll see
And
you.
all lines and odds are subject to change.
Yes,
for the record.
always.
Check the DK Twitter and Gary's Twitter for the links to the contest, and odds and lines are subject to change. Just want to get that out there.
See ya.
Thanks, Gary.